All right, can everybody see us? Good morning.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. How are you guys? I'm Julia Sotas, and this is
Anthony Mattis.
And we are the Talk to the Entities couple, facilitating Talk to the Entities wherever we go. So both of us have had really amazing and interesting experiences with entities, and we've also both learned to communicate with entities and receive from entities in a way that nobody else in the world can. And I think that's the gift of Talk to the Entities, is receiving from entities in a way that nobody in the world can or wants to.
What is an entity?
An entity, that's when I put a sheet on my head and I run around the room.
Ghosty. Or boobies.
Boobies! On Halloween, boobies.
So what is an entity, though? Because, like, I know there was a time in my life where
this is an entity.
Yeah. A book could be an entity, right?
Oh, there's a book here too.
A tree, a plant. Your house could be an entity. Your business could be an entity.
Yeah.
We're entities. But I think the entities that we're talking about are the ones that don't have bodies.
No.
Right? Okay, cool.
Like ghosts.
So like, if we even have this conversation, are we going to open up like a Pandora's box where like we may be overwhelmed or something?
Well, that's a good question, Dr. M.
Yeah. Because isn't this like a dangerous topic, and like we shouldn't be messing with the spirit world?
Well, I know I'm really scared.
Yeah. Well, but a lot of people are scared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So what if this, like, like so many people come to me and they're like, I'm afraid to come to these entity classes because I don't want to open up this like Pandora's box and then like get to the point where it's like I'm overwhelmed and I can't handle it.
Right.
And quite the opposite is true, right?
Yeah. Well, it's actually, once you make that commitment to the entity world and to receiving from entities, communicating with entities, and clearing entities, you sort of just become it, and then it gets really easy. It's just a bit of work at the beginning as they go, we've been shutting them down for so long, and then when you say yes to the entity world, they get really, really, really excited, like a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
It's like when you tell your kids that you're going to take them to go get ice cream. They're going to be pounding down on you until you get ice cream. You can't say, I'm going to take you to get ice cream, and then say, just kidding, I'm not. I'm going to ignore you instead. But that's, I think, what we do with entities. When we come to talk to the entities and we make a commitment to ghosts, spirits, beings of light, dead relatives, people that we don't even know who have died, and we go, okay, I'm going to open up to this ability, and I'm going to talk to entities. I'm going to acknowledge all of you who don't have bodies that everybody else in this reality is ignoring. It's like they get really excited, and because nobody else is willing to be that or do that. So it's a really, really cool thing for them.
Yeah, but if it's not in the name of like a particular religion or something like that, could that be a bad thing?
Well, I'm, as a very religious person, I feel it would be bad to talk to entities. Just kidding. I'm not a very religious person.
Yeah. Well, I spend a good.
But a lot of people do have that question, and it actually brings up a good question.
Well, I spent 5.5 years in the church. Being a Christian, doing the Christian thing, because I was a seeker of all truths, all philosophies, all healing techniques, you name it. I've been on this like intense journey for probably like the last 30 years of my life.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the points of view that exist out there, if this information is not in the name of a particular philosophy or not in the name of a particular religion, in particular, let's say Judeo-Christianity, then you're opening yourself up to something that could be dangerous. And what I personally
had a mental thought of you as a Catholic priest, like exorcising demons from women, and see, look, you're laughing. He's laughing.
This might be a little intense for some of the listeners here. You're talking like all of our pals who talk to the entities are watching us, which they are. I know, but we're also talking to like people who've never been exposed to this stuff. So.
Well, sorry, people, you're in for a wild ride.
Yeah. So anyway, what I've come to find out and learn is that, in fact, these tools are actually quite empowering.
Yes.
And I've seen so many people be at the effect of their philosophies and their religions. And when they would have their struggles in life, whatever their struggles were, maybe mental illness, for example, bipolar, for example, borderline personality disorder, insomnia, anxiety disorders, you name it, paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah.
These people were struggling, and then the idea of going outside of their particular religion or their particular church was sort of like it was forbidden.
Well, what is the purpose of religion?
Well, that's a great question, but I'm not going to talk about that.
The purpose of religion is to control people.
Yeah,
so,
well, that's not supposed to be the purpose, but that's what ended up being the purpose. And,
well, religion is actually a techie creation. So everywhere...
Well, what's a techie? For those people who don't know what a techie is.
A techie is a being that looks like a person, talks like a person, oftentimes even smells like a person, but they are not a person. Well, they are a certain type of person, but techies are people...
You mean shits and farts come out of their ass?
They do.
Wow.
I've actually smelled techies fart.
They don't fart rainbows.
We have family who are techies, and I've smelled their farts.
They don't fart rainbows?
No.
Oh,
they
wow.
think they do, but I can really smell what's going on.
I thought they did. All these years, I thought they shit and fart rainbows.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But, a techie is somebody who their desire is actually to destroy the earth and to destroy, life for humanoids. So basically, religion is actually a techie point of view and a techie reality, and it's designed to control. So what do you know about entities that is beyond this reality, beyond religion, beyond form, structure, and significance, that you don't want to know that you know, that if you knew it would create a totally different reality beyond this reality? And everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, all night, pot, pock, shorts, boys and beyonds. Good morning to everybody who's joined us. We have lots of wonderful people. Karen saying hi, Noelle saying hi, Fernando, Cindy.
So when a person dies and they don't have a body anymore, do they become more conscious?
When a person dies and they don't have a body anymore, well, that's a good question, and that's something that I have definitely enjoyed learning about with Talk to the Entities, because they don't. When you die, you just stay the same, basically. You have all your same points of view and limitations, and a lot of people, when they die, they don't actually realize that they have died. And so they feel trapped and stuck. When I was 15, my dad's brother died, and after he died, I started to have the depression for the first time, and I started to have the sense of being really, really trapped. And I would have dreams. I got pneumonia, and I would have dreams that I was suffocating, and I would run around the house. I would literally get out of bed in these hallucinations and run around the house, kicking the walls, trying to get this trap off of me. And what I realized after doing Talk to the Entities was that I was actually aware of my uncle who felt extremely trapped after he died, and nobody could talk to him or hear him or communicate with him anymore. Yeah. So it's, clearing, communicating, receiving, being present with entities is an immense gift to entities. And as you give and perceive and are present with entities, that gift comes back to you, and you become a greater, brighter, happier, more alive being.
Yeah, someone asked, why we decided to become Talk to the Entity Facilitators, and so I'll speak for me personally.
Yeah, he has a great story about this.
Well, when I first took my first Talk to the Entities class, the only reason why I took the class was because I wanted Shannon O'Hara, the creator of Talk to the Entities, to communicate with my dead wife. You know, she had committed suicide. She had bipolar disorder, was diagnosed when she was 17. And, you know, again, we tried so many different philosophies, religions, spiritualities, healing techniques, blah, 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 blah. And I wasn't really interested in learning the tools for myself. And then, you know, fast forward 5 years later, doing Access Consciousness and traveling the world, doing ASB sessions, and I'm like, you know, I would like my sessions to become stronger, more powerful, and I feel like I'm sort of hitting a plateau with facilitating people. So I said, you know, what else do I need to learn? And I remember scrolling through Facebook, and I see Shannon did a taster, and I'm like, I've already done this before, and this is not an area that I have a capacity in. At least that was my point of view at the time. I don't see ghosts. I'm not one of those people who see ghosts, which they come to find out that I actually do. But at the time, I'm like, this is all bullshit. This is just fantasy. It's just for those weird people who see ghosts and talk to them and typically suffer their awareness with them anyway. So why do I even want to jump in that? And so anyway, but I talked to Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and he's like, well, when did you cut off your capacity? And then I started remembering when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, I used to be scared of the boogeyman, and I used to sleep with my grandmother, who was an Italian refugee and didn't speak any English, and she would just speak to me in Italian. And I was always aware of like these energies in the bedroom that were very dark and oppressive. And it's interesting because that same energy has followed me throughout my entire life. And I became really, really aware when that energy finally broke. It was during a class or during a week when I was facilitating a Talk to the Entities class in Rome, Italy, and then a 3-day body class. So anyway, make a long story short, Gary sort of encouraged me to dive back into the work, and I did. And for whatever reason, I was able to hear this information in a way that was so pragmatic where I could use it in my everyday life. And it was like the way Shannon was facilitating the work, or at least maybe I was finally able to listen to it, and sort of my intentions were different. It wasn't like, hey, you talk to my dead wife for me, you know? This was more like, no, you talk to your dead wife for yourself. And but the work was presented in such a way that was actually pragmatic, and it sort of took the esoteric out of it. And I started to see how I could use this in my everyday life. And it was amazing. And then all of a sudden, as I started to facilitate the classes, literally it was like these universes started opening up. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that was there before. So I'd like walk in it. And then when I would walk in, it was like a whole other universe was there. And then another universe was there. And it was another universe. And then all of a sudden, all these things that we've been saying in Access Consciousness and Talk to the Entities, it just started to like, I don't want to say consume me, but it just started to actually become visceral. Yeah, I was actually able to receive it viscerally. And it was really, really amazing. And so I've just been having a total blast. It's kind of quite comical that I'm a facilitator of Talk to the Entities, because I thought I'd be the last person to ever facilitate this work. And it's really changed my life dynamically because I have so much clarity in this area. And it's helped me to develop clarity as to what the children's mother was going through when she was having her bipolar episodes.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm Anthony's second wife, and Anthony's first wife actually had severe bipolar over about a 13-year period, and actually committed suicide based on entity awareness. And so these tools are such an amazing thing for us to have in our family too, to work with ourselves and work with our kids and actually create an empowered point of view and an empowered reality with regards to mental illness and with regards to entities, because they're kind of the same thing. And what you were saying about, I love Talk to the Entities, because Talk to the Entities takes out all of the confused, metaphysical, significant, religious, esoteric points of view about entities. And actually, like, Shannon has created this entity education that doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. And it's really, really, really incredible to be able to have this kind of gift in your life. And one of the things that Shannon said,
it's just pragmatic. I mean, and
totally,
everybody could use it. Like if you're a mailman or a teacher or a mathematician,
it's like how many dog entities
use it.
are in the dog that's chasing you when you're trying to deliver the package to the Smith's house. You clear the entities from the dog, and you don't get bitten as a postman.
There's just so much you can do with this stuff, and you don't have to be a psychic medium to benefit from the tools. From my point of view,
and everybody has this ability.
Everybody
person.
Has the ability to
Not
perceive.
Everybody's going to choose it,
yeah,
but every single person has it. And seeing entities does not mean that you have a greater capacity. Seeing is not a criterion for entity awareness. Perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving are the criterion for entity awareness. And I think that's really amazing because it gives everybody the permission to open the door and not think that anything is greater than them.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to, for some of you, you're going to have to build a muscle for this. This is something.
It is a muscle.
I didn't even know that I had the muscle for it at all. And come to find out that I do. And we all do. Like Julia said, we all have the ability to perceive, know, be, and receive the spirit world. And, and also another thing that's beautiful about having this information too is that, one of the tools that we learn in Access Consciousness is that for every thought, feeling, and emotion you have, every pain that you have in your body, to always ask who does this belong to, because one of the first things we learn is that 99% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions don't even belong to you.
So massive amounts of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions could be Entitäten.
It could be entity awareness, not always.
That's the German word for entity,
yes.
Entitäten.
Entitäten.
And I love when Anthony did a class in the Rheingau region of Germany, and his translator kept being like, Hochspring von Entitäten, Entitäten. And I thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard. And so I love calling entities Entitäten.
Yeah, so when we go somewhere and we perceive some entities, we'll be like, oh, there goes some Entitätens.
Entitätens!
You have to take the significance out of it, you guys, because, so much of us have been really taught the drama and trauma behind it, especially all the stuff you see on TV and everything like that. And if you have gone to the Catholic Church or a Christian church and all that, and we're not. And
even if you're not still going to a church or you're not part of that, it's still oftentimes is real in your world.
It's still
somewhere.
Sort of ingrained.
Religion is real in most people's
in your
worlds,
molecular structure,
whether you do access or not, unless you really choose to change that.
But what the work does is it gets you out of this place of fear, the space of fear, like, oh, you shouldn't be messing with this topic, or you're going to open yourself up to this whole you won't be able to handle. And to me, that's one of the things that I found to be the number one biggest bullshit lie that there is, and that's part of the reason why my first life.
This is bullshit. Wait. I can't do this. This is bullshit.
My first wife took her life because she thought she was actually demon-possessed, and she did not want the kids to be raised by a demon. And I'm like, well, if you kill yourself, you go for the ride. If you kill a demon, you go for the ride. So what we've learned is that there's just tools to change that for people. People don't have to suffer. They don't have to suffer the drama and trauma of spirituality. They don't have to suffer the drama and trauma of church and religion and philosophies and all this other crap. And if I get a little bit excited about this topic is because I am excited about this topic.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, not to be all melancholy or anything like that, but this is like the first time this is where I finally made the choice to no longer listen to someone from a pulpit or someone from the stage. And this is one of the things I love about Access, because it actually empowers you to know what you know by teaching you to learn how to live in and as the question. Okay, but I'll never forget the day that we buried the kid's mom, the pastor's like, oh, she's rejoicing with the Lord now. And I was like, what? Rejoicing with the Lord? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're telling me she's dancing and partying with God right now after she just watched her 8-year-old and 10-year-old son bury her. She's rejoicing with the Lord. So in that moment, I perceived this sadness and sorrow that wasn't mine. Yeah, I was sad, obviously. And it wasn't the kids, but it was a different energy. And the energy matched the energy of my late wife. She was sad. She was sorry. And that was the first time where I'm like, something else is going on. I don't think that just because she died, that everything is all better. And again, fast forward 5.5, 6 years later, when I started to learn to talk to the entities tools, really to come to find out that, yeah, no, you take yourself wherever you go. And not if you move from like Europe to the United States. Even when you die, you take yourself when you go to the spirit world. So you might as well get your shit together now.
So what you're saying is, when somebody commits suicide, it's a very anticlimactic event.
Yeah, it's not the solution.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So, get it together now.
And what I love about these tools is not only do they get you out of your trauma and drama, if you're willing, they give you access. You give you access to a level of power, the power of receiving, that nobody else is willing to have. And accessing the incredible amount of creatures and beings and entities willing to speak to you, not just entities as in dead people, dead family, dead relatives. It's like those people are, that's one part, and receiving from them creates this whole world of receiving and possibility. And we have the earth, and we have the trees, and we have the beings of life, of light. And it's like there's such an incredible level of receiving that's available to us.
And our teammates.
Most of us,
teammates, we have teammates.
And teammates. But like most people look at, people in access like Gary or Shannon or Dane and go like, whoa. And there's this magnificent world that they seem to have available to them, but we all have it available to us. And it is through this power of receiving and the level of greatness that is available to each of us if we will have it.
Yeah.
But most people are not willing to have the power of peace, the power of receiving, the power of happiness, and the power of perceiving what is around you all the time, that most people are very, very happy to ignore.
So what happens, like what can actually happen, like in a pragmatic way where we're not willing to receive our
I like
own
your
power,
eyes right now.
our own
He's
potency?
like, the pragmatic way of receiving.
Yeah, but what happens when you're not willing to receive your power?
Oh, God. Well, it's a slow death. It's a slow death. It's a painful death. I've experienced it. It's like the more power, your greatest wrongness is your greatest strongness. So the more power you have available to you, and the more you begin to acknowledge that power, if you start cutting that off, it doesn't feel like dying a slow death. It is dying a slow death.
Yeah.
You are killing yourself off every day as you be less of you. And thank God we have fucking Shannon and other facilitators who have who are really embracing this and being this, because it shows that this is possible, and each of us will have this if we choose, as we choose, and through the willingness to be different, crazy, weird, not have friends, not need to talk to people, not have needs of people. It's like everything in your world can change if you want to, and if you're willing to be truly empowered and truly, truly, truly be the leader of your life and the creator of your life.
So like hiding from your awareness is never a good thing.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah.
I haven't hid from my awareness and then later been really happy that I did that.
So can that kind of cause like things in your body or in your mind if you keep like suppressing or not acknowledging your power and potencies? Yeah. So like what if all like the things that you may be struggling with in your body or in your mind, for example, it may be your inability to acknowledge or claim, own, and acknowledge your power.
Yeah.
And that's all these tools are about, is to get you to a place or space where you're actually claiming and owning your capacities that either you've long forgotten or somewhere along the lines was beaten out of you.
Yeah, and it was beaten out of you, and it's been beaten out of you for 4 trillion years.
Yeah.
But does that mean that because I mean, and you chose that disempowerment too. You chose to beat it out of yourself and go along with that. Sorry, our father-in-law, the phone is ringing. Well, it's both of our father-in-law. It's actually Anthony's late wife's dad.
See? So what is he
We
aware
share
of?
a father-in-law.
So what is he aware of, right?
So yeah, but it is amazing what we are capable of, and it's amazing that we have the ability to have it now this lifetime, and it's amazing how natural it is to us, and that we would cut off and kill something that's so natural to us. But we tend to do that. We tend to like that. So everything you like about destroying your generative capacities, everything you like about destroying your capacity to receive, perceive, know, be, receive, contribute, will you destroy and uncreate that times a godzillion?
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pocket.
Oh, thank you.
So for those of you, again, Julia's talking to all of you like you've all had access consciousness. So that's the clearing statement that we use. So if you want to know what that actually is and what it means, you can go to www.theclearingstatement.com. It's just weird, wild, wacky tool that we use in access consciousness to sort of like dissipate and release all the areas where you've been functioning from unconsciousness and anti-consciousness in any area of your life. Money, sex, body stuff, healing, sadness, joy, you name it. So if you're curious about that, that's what Julia was doing.
Yeah, and somebody had asked here, Namrata is saying, I keep seeing the message, take back your power. Yes and no. I would say that you want to be the power that you have always been. Taking it back actually is like a different connotation.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of judgment and kind of point of view attached to that. So
well, it doesn't go anywhere.
What would it take?
You don't lose your power.
No.
You just basically don't acknowledge it, or you have the point of view that you don't have power.
Yeah.
So you don't actually lose it. It doesn't like fall out of your ass and like you keep walking along and you left it like 5 miles behind you.
You have to.
That doesn't ever happen.
That's
okay?
a seriously prolapsed anus.
That's a prolapsed anus, right? So we need some SE work, you know, for all the pelvic floor muscles.
Oh, he went like this.
You know, a little SE work there. So anyway, pot. So
no.
anyway, yeah. So so this is really about accessing your power, accessing what's already there, what's already available to you. Nobody can take your power away unless you let them. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. We just have to acknowledge what we already have and what we already are. There's nothing to take back.
Yeah.
It's more of an acknowledgement of what actually is.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what the tools of access get you to, and that's what I love about the tools of access, is because when you're getting your bars around, when you're using the tools of Talk to the Entity, when you're doing the pawning and pocking and unlocking all these trillions of years of stuff, you start to actually have awareness of what your gifts, capacities, powers, potencies are, and then you get to choose. And you get to choose what you'd like to create in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
And there are times when I've chosen to have more of me, and it almost it's like I have this sense of like being burned alive or something.
Ow.
And it's like that's okay. It's like there are things that might come up, like energies, to stop you from having more of you and from being more of you. But it's only when we have a point of view about what's stopping us can it continue to stop us. I really, 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 really use the tool interesting point of view, probably more than most people. And it has delivered for me. It's like there are things that I some days, there was something this morning, I was laying in bed and you were up, and something, I don't know what it was. I would have normally had a point of view about it, and I was like, whoa, my point of view about that disappeared. I never worked on it. I never went, interesting point of view. I have that point of view about that. I was just like, there was like this shift in my reality when I was like, normally I would have a point of view about that, but it's completely disappeared from my world. And that's an awesome, awesome place to be, and an awesome place to live.
Our points of view create our reality. Our realities don't create our point of view. And there are a lot of points of view out there all over the world. And it's like, how many of those points of view are actually creating the life that you currently have that you don't want to have? The life of poo, exactly. So it's like, interesting point of view, which again, we've been in Access almost 8 years now, and we realize that nobody's using that basic fundamental tool that you learn in your very, very first class. That
I actually asked Gary about that. I said, how come nobody like does this? And he's like, because they don't want to let go of their points of view. Like they just don't want to. Because your point of view makes up who you are.
Ouch.
Yeah, and most people are not, well, the fake version of who you are, this reality version.
Yeah.
But if you are willing to not have a defined you anymore, if you're willing to lose you, you'll actually discover you. You'll start to be you.
Yeah, and if you aren't functioning from all those points of view, who would you be? And whose points of view are they to begin with?
Right.
That's a question you need to ask yourself as well. I think we're winding down. We only have a couple more minutes, and we have some amazing facilitators coming up after us. So hopefully you recognize my orange shirt for the pumpkin.
We did coordinate.
Yes.
I even did my nails.
Ooh, sexy, sexy
what
hot
are you doing
nails.
After this Facebook
Yeah,
Live?
I don't know. You want to run my bars later?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I have other intentions.
When you were saying
that was my pickup line to Julia.
It really
many
was.
years ago.
It totally worked.
She said no the first time, and then a year later asked her to
we
run
were
the
at
bars
Certified
again.
Facilitators, and he said, he came up to me after class one day and said, would you like to run bars in my hotel room?
I had different intentions.
And I said yes.
But
then we didn't get
didn't
together.
Work.
Then we got together a year later again.
And I said, would you run my bars again?
Would you do it again?
And then it worked.
And then we started making out. And we haven't stopped making out since.
Okay, final thought.
Okay, bye everybody.
We'll let you guys go. Thanks
Happy
for listening.
Halloween.
Hopefully you got something out of this. Bye.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.